Perfect. Good morning, Bruno.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, and you.
Good.
Good. So, another PLA. We got two questions today. The first one's for you, and it's basically just touch up on a old topic that we did previously. There were some developments, specifically in relation to news around CCTV bylaws that were being brought in within the city of Johannesburg. There's been some development with regards to that. So, can you give us a touch up on what's happening there? And maybe just a reminder of what's happening in that particular sphere of law.
So the City of Joburg has honored its residents with a bylaw that requires all residents to register, to first ask for approval in order to install CCTV cameras facing public. And if you have CCTV cameras that face anything public, they need to be registered with the municipality. Now, we spoke about this previously, where part of my criticism was the extra administrative burden that the municipality is now going to have in having to somehow police this and monitor it and have a register and likely charge a fee for the registration and have to go through some kind of approvals process, which is going to take time. It's going to frustrate the resident. It's going to now cost the resident extra. And it just seems, it honestly, in my opinion, just seems absurd. As part of this approval process, there has to be some submission of plans explaining what or where this camera is supposedly facing. And I do feel just on the request that residents have to submit this, it's already an infringement of their rights, especially living in a society that has such a high crime rate, where the more CCTV cameras, the better. It does offer the level of protection. Now to have to go ask for approval every time you want to install a camera that faces the outside just seems absolutely ridiculous. And I don't feel it was properly thought out. So we did explain, or we did at least submit that there was an understanding behind the logic, which was, as we understand it, because obviously, there might be things happening behind the scenes that we aren't aware of. But my understanding of the logic here was, number one, this does allow for easier access to public-facing cameras in case there are crimes, for example. There can be easier policing, where we now, for example, don't need to go get warrants, or by the municipality, don't need to go get warrants every time there's a crime that's committed. You just access those cameras almost immediately, and you can presumably resolve crimes just as quickly. Now, that's a great notion, and I would love to see something like that. And I would argue that if this were in case part of the project plan, and one could actually show that consistent results based on the fact that easier access to cameras made it possible, I would almost take a step back and go, you know what, is it that big a price to pay? Yes, South Africa shouldn't have as much crime as it does, but the fact that now we're able to conclude criminal investigations a lot faster does sound like a great notion. Problem, right, is if it was only used for that, you could police it, and when you're 100% certainty that there would be no abuses, well, that's one thing. And if we knew that the municipality could, for example, handle the administrative burden. However, where our fears arise, and I think that there's a lot of truth and truth to the worry behind this, is the fact that abuses do arise. There is going to be delays in having CCTV cameras installed. And now the problem is there's a privacy concern, because first of all, these cameras are facing neighbors, as an example. So now there's a privacy concern there, where now it's not only your neighbor that potentially can see the other neighbor, which probably isn't right in itself, but now the municipality can easily access this at any point because it's facing the public road. So you start having to ask the question whether that was indeed well thought out, and if the consideration, for example, of a camera that's partly facing internally and partly facing externally. And now it's subjected to the request of the municipality to be able to access it, yet it does have just certain visuals of your own property. That's also an infringement of privacy. And now, unfortunately, to ask residents to have separate cameras, one only facing the outside, one only facing the inside, there's cost components to this. So it obviously, I don't believe it was as well thought out as it could have been or should have been. If the logic was simply for, criminal investigations, having some control over what cameras face the road, that's great. Unfortunately, if these cameras can in any way be utilized for an abusive process, to look at patterns, for example, when cars go in and out, then it can become a worry. My understanding of this, and I think this is the situation, is it's not a question over the municipality having access to the cameras on a 24-hour basis, but simply a question of the municipality being able to access footage upon request. So it's not like they'll be watching you, but it's just the right to be able to access footage that happens to have you in it. This is before court at the moment. This has been challenged by OUTA, and now, we're waiting the court outcome.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Bruno.